You'll notice he no longer suffers delusions of humanity.
Affirmative.
Has editing your content become a burden, or you just don't have the skill set?
I wish I could focus on content production, but post-editing takes so much time and effort.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
We'll look no further. Here at Asylum 99 Studios, I can help you create professional quality videos that will be sure to captivate viewers. With my creativity and skill, along with your content, assets, and ideas, I can bring your vision into the simulation. I offer the following services: video clipping and organization, content creation, VFX, SFX, and motion graphics, intro and outro assets. Requests may be taken upon further discussion. So if you're a content creator, short on time because you're out living your best life, or you wish you could focus all your energy into producing content, reach out to Asylum 99 Studios today.
What are you waiting for?
What am I waiting for? What am I waiting for?
Don't settle for mediocre videos. Hire me as your freelance video editor and create videos that meet your standards. Asylum 99 Studios. Release your creativity.
Well, we're here again, tribe. We all know what this year is. 10/24 for those of you who are in the know. For the rest of you that are trying to catch up, it's election season, right? And it wouldn't be a modern election season without a good helping of gaslighting and mental fuckery. So I'm not gonna hold you. We're gonna get straight into it. Let's go. The big election year. How to stop AI undermining the vote in 2024.
The problem in the past has been the man turning us against one another.
The year 2024 marks the biggest year for elections worldwide. While Bangladesh and Taiwan already elected their leaders earlier this month, upcoming elections in major democracies, including the United States, India, and the United Kingdom, became a focal point of discussion at Davos 2024, the recently concluded annual meeting in Davos, Switzerland. As leaders discussed how some results could reflect the strengths and weaknesses of democracy, attention also turned to how artificial intelligence, AI, could help and hinder this electoral process.
Man, this is some bullshit!
So let's get one thing straight out the gate. Something that if you're a subscriber to this channel, and not the RedWolf channel, Lone Wolf channel, etc., you know that so-called North America is not a democracy. This is how you know they don't teach us anything in the public fool system. It's a shame. Moving on. Undermining democracy. Misinformation and disinformation have ranked top among the top 10 risks identified by the Global Risk Perception Survey. The easy-to-use interface of large-scale AI models have already enabled an explosion in falsified information and so-called synthetic content. From sophisticated voice cloning to counterfeit websites, as detailed by the Global Risk Report 2024. The report also warned that disinformation in these elections could destabilize societies by discrediting and questioning the legitimacy of governments. Proponents of AI argue that the same generative AI, Gen AI, technology that could undermine democracies could also help combat nefarious forces seeking to do so. What is the truth and what is the ground truth in the information environment today? In the era of deep fakes, That is the starting point of any discussion, Alexandra Reeve-Givens, Chief Executive Officer at the Center for Democracy and Technology, said in Davos. Other threats seen during elections will come in robocalls and targeted automated text messages with false information aimed to alter voter behavior, made easier by AI. Election officials also face threats of phishing and doxing. There is also a deeper issue of trust. We become civic individuals through nature, not genetically. Raised Ian Bremmer, president of the Eurasia Group, in the session 4.2 billion people at the ballot box. We become civic beings, and we have institutions around us that shape us, that allow us to connect to people around us. And if you look in the United States over the last 40 years, those institutions have fragmented and they have lost trust. Nurture is being replaced by an algorithm, he added, calling out the real-time experiment that's being run on us in democracy right now. The recent Edelman Trust Barometer also found that most respondents believe that when innovation is mismanaged, both technology and society leave them behind, leading to the belief the system is biased and may do more harm than good, in particular, capitalism. Trust author and lecturer Rachel Botsman added in the same session to Bremmer that AI systems essentially distribute trust, disrupting democracy. Now, the thing that frightens me is that this creates a vacuum of chaos and what we might call the most untrustworthy individuals. They understand these dynamics. They understand how to take all of these fragments and this chaos and create some kind of absolute truth. Create some kind of false certainty that it is often mistaken for power, and that's where the trust goes. In an election context, where it's hard to control information, there is chaotic energy, said Botsman, adding, therefore voices that cut through are often clear and absolute, and they push against something rather than stand for something. The question, also asked by Foreign Policy's Editor-in-Chief Ravi Agrawal at a session called Protecting Democracy Against Bots and Plots, therefore is, how can we ensure that AI and technology are forces for good rather than chaos? So first of all, AI isn't the threat to the legitimacy of governments the world over. Y'all being a bunch of mouth-breathing, punk-ass motherfuckers doing dirt when you're supposed to be serving your constituents is what's bringing your legitimacy into question. Okay? I'm tired of making it seem like everybody's crazy for seeing you motherfuckers do the shit you do, and we're supposed to just act like we see nothing, like our eyes are wide shut. It's pretty sickening. The World Economic Forum's always throwing stones and hiding their hands. They're pretending like they have nothing to do with AI invading our lives. They act like this wasn't in the works back in the early 2010s when they handed us smartphones. It's the slow walk, folks. This was always the end goal. There was never any other outcome designed for this. We are in a grand experiment, and the experiment's gonna roll on, whether we like it or not. And if you don't like it, your only course of action is to not be a part of the experiment, which means you need to get out of the cage. The doublespeak they participate in is mind-numbing at times, but you gotta be strong to get through it, because a weaker mind will just fold to what they said because they sound like they're coming from a position of authority. But really, they're a bunch of con artists. They act as though they're the test subject and not the scientists running the experiment. But they also made a Freudian slip in letting you know that they are very concerned about controlling information. But not just controlling any information this year, controlling information concerning any of the elections the world over. Why? Because this is probably their last chance to get all their cronies lined up the best they can before something goes down with the mass population, where we mess up their attempts to further lock in on control. Their plans were shitty from the beginning, so I don't know why they didn't mitigate for us waking up or for people figuring them out. Their last ditch effort is shoddy AI that's not even complete yet. They're on a sped up timeline, because when you're rushing, you make mistakes. They are not the force for good. They are the source of the chaos. They are the arbiters of chaos. Harness tech for good or stop nefarious AI. The good guys have more access to AI, insisted Matthew Prince, co-founder and chief executive officer at Cloudflare, when considering how machine learning could identify threats and their protectionist role. He added that accessibility to the technology they offer, and presumably others like them, could at least help less resourced nations have a stable governmental infrastructure that benefits everyone. That's why, he said, it's incumbent on us to protect democracies everywhere. During Building Trust in Democracy, Transparency International Chair Francois Valerian agreed that big data and artificial intelligence help civil society organizations to identify the corruption patterns and conflicts of the interests that subvert democracies. Moving to digital, people can see your own data, and if there's a mistake, you can say, hey, there's a mistake in it, and the government needs to correct it, he said. There is a bit of trust to be built around using tech for good. The UK scandal around a computer system falsely placing hundreds of postmasters in the frame for fraud is an example. At the same time, it was argued that the pandemic got people attuned to digitalization with less fear around the leaking and hacking of data at every turn. However, the usual checks and balances around data are harder in AI, where not everything is visible to the user. Regulatory discussions have moved forward significantly, with tech platforms also acknowledging how safety must be central to innovation, which is not yet set to subside. As Satya Nadella, executive chairman and chief executive officer of Microsoft, said, I don't think the world will put up any more with any of us coming up with something that has not thought through safety, trust, and equity. So my question would be, who are these good guys y'all are speaking about?
I don't know him, cuz.
And how would AI be your major threat if you have these individuals and they have access to more AI software and technology than those you accuse of being quote unquote the bad guys?
So, what'll I make you? Good? You're not good. You just know how to hide, how to lie.
But if you are a frequenter here, we already know what's going on here. Mind games, mental gymnastics, and all other kind of dishonest fuckery that will only work on the weak-minded. You have all these assets at your disposal, yet you're worried about what somebody who shouldn't have a full grasp of the technology is going to do with it. I would say it smells fishy, but we already know that. We know who we're dealing with. Y'all see where we're reading this from. And you know they're gonna push democracy to anybody who will listen. Anybody with a shred of reading in American history knows that even under the revisionist history, it's not a democracy. All that bullshit came during Reconstruction. That's how we got here. Right? But once again, if you say that, They're going to call you a bigot. When if you look at the evolution of democracy, it goes from what? Democracy. Next thing you know, it's socialism. And then before you know it, you're in the breadline and communism. It evolves like a Pokemon. It gets progressively worse. And when did tracing corruption become an algorithm? In my lifetime, I didn't need an algorithm to trace corruption. I just listened to the corrupt bullshit coming out of these corrupt puppets, corrupt mouths. I don't need no AI algorithm for that. I got my own algorithm up here. My bullshitometer. It goes off when I start hearing some bullshit. Another thing is, who the fuck did y'all ask if we wanted to go digital? I know I wasn't asked. And I know what you'll say, but Rando, you consented by using your phone, etc., etc. When I first started using smartphones in 2009, 2010, they weren't even good enough. You know, they weren't even good enough to sink your whole life into. They were really shoddy. They didn't last a long time. But you know, over the last decade, we've seen the technology improve marginally. And I'm going to say marginally because they still trash. Still don't last long, worth a damn, etc. And they were always a weapon from the beginning. They always framed things as something that could be useful to us, but end up being more useful to them. So I ask you again, do you remember signing off on us going digital? Digital shouldn't take over a major part of our lives. It should be a very small part that is not connected to us and doesn't hold our life into balance. And they attribute the heavy digitalization of society to the mental COVID lockdowns, because the truth remains, folks, we were never truly locked down. Nobody was standing guard outside your door. You were your own prison guard. Okay? You locked yourself down, not Dr. Fauci, not Bill Gates. Okay? But we ain't going to talk about that right now. We're going to keep it on the subject. Every variable in this experiment is something they gave us. The smart devices. The fear propaganda that drove people to stay inside and to derive their information from those digital devices. Right? Like Lone Wolf tells us, like RedWolf tells us, order out of chaos. They're going to present the problem and then come back around and have us beg them for the solution. Getting regulation right. The biggest lesson of history is that not to be so much in awe of some technology that we feel that we cannot control it. We cannot use it for the betterment of our people. So in that context, we need our politicians to lean in, added Nadella at the Davos session. A conversation with Satya Nadella, recognizing that lack of understanding of technology has prevented regulatory attempts. Elsewhere, UK Chancellor and Exchequer Jeremy Hunt advocated a light touch approach from the government so as not to kill the golden goose before it has a chance to grow. That they don't fully know what it's capable of, so a cautious approach is needed. There was also an acknowledgement that outputs produced by AI are a moving target, making regulation difficult, as you need to tell the system that any one hypothetical output has to be outlawed. Sam Altman from OpenAI went further and contended with who makes decisions. I think it's on us to figure out a way to get the input from society about how we're going to make these decisions, he reasoned. Not only about what the values of the system are, but what the safety thresholds are and what kind of global coordination we need to ensure that the stuff that happens in one country does not super negatively impact another. The more time I spend reading garbage on this website, the clearer it becomes that it's all just an act. Stop saying we need regulation of your software like y'all don't have the regulation sitting in a manila envelope on somebody's desk or in a file cabinet. Not all of us are that fucking stupid, but the vast majority of us are. So me saying this really probably won't even do nothing, to be honest with you. But I'm still sit here and say it anyway and stand on it. The need for control is what drives these people crazy. If they don't have absolute control over what you're doing, they're not happy. They're going to find some kind of way to be breathing down your neck. And then all your pockets, trying to see what all they can get out of you. To use you, of course, and to use against you. You know. It's getting really exhausting, you know. I'm just ready for these people to take a long walk off a short pier with their lifeline tied to them, if you catch my drift. Holding misinformers to account. What regulation and other guardrails for the misuse of AI can't do is control the misinformation from politicians, as political scientist Rasmus Nielsen pointed out in a recent FT op-ed. The obvious examples of this emerged during the previous US administration, but in the UK, non-profit Full Fact reported that as many as 50 members of the parliament made false statements without correcting them. The consequences of such practices have been millions of Americans believing that there was a stolen election in 2022, and the question is how politicians can use AI to mislead the 2024 elections. The basic functioning of the media is fundamental to determining truth, a message that came up across sessions discussing the misinformation and disinformation conundrum. Therefore, upholding media freedoms and enabling effective fact-checking, which potential AI products could also help. That involves legislation, but also commitments from big tech to uphold codes of practice on disinformation, suggested Andrew Coriana Galizia, the son of the murdered Maltese journalist Daphne Caruana Galizia. Galizia also believed awareness raising, lowering the absorption capacity in society to believe the lies, was an important element to combating mis and disinformation. A recent forum publication looked at principles for the future of responsible media in an era of AI, detailing 30 action-oriented recommendations, including responsible AI development, open innovation, and international collaboration. AI, therefore, could be a force for good, a nefarious force, and a potential multiplier of bad actors, as indicated by this year's sessions. However, some cautioned against blaming tech for the current threats we see, including Alexander Soros, chair of the board of directors at Open Society Foundations. You know, I think it's a cop-out saying that technology has been a threat to humanity since the invention of the printing press, which is more disruptive than anything AI is going to do in regards to human civilization. You know, this wouldn't be a political hit piece without them taking shots at the puppet, the Teflon Don Donald Trump, right? They can't help themselves. While I personally believe the entire election process is rigged, in the context of y'all's whole so-called narrative, the election was stolen. I stayed awake on the last election. I stayed awake and I watched you stupid motherfuckers announce that you was done counting for the night. Okay? So stop trying to play us, bro. It's old and all you're doing is pissing people off. You're pissing us off like your masters aren't going to leave you in here with us to fend for yourselves. They're only promising you what they promised you to get you to see your task out to the end. And your end is going to come at the hands of the people. If you're down with these people, you should probably take a look at their protocols that they got written for y'all. Might give you a change of heart. And it's the same old song and dance. Fact checkers. Who determines what the facts are? Who put these people in charge? We didn't put them in charge just because we use their website. We just tried to use their website. I don't really care about the contractual games these people play, like how they do it there or they do it in the courtroom. Fuck, if you trick me into signing that contract, it's really null and void, really. Because I signed it in ignorance. Ignorance is no excuse. Well, if ignorance is not no excuse, then I guess that leaves me with one option, and that's kinetic action. Okay? Y'all take your choice. Y'all take your pick. World Economic Forum. right? How can a fact checker, let alone AI, ensure you election integrity? Show me a fact checker that came out to check facts in the positive for the so-called conservatives, for the fake-ass conservatives. Because through all those years, I don't remember seeing any. They were always a hit piece against the truth, which the conservatives framed themselves alongside. And that's the truth. Anybody with an honest bone in your body is going to say that. I don't care what your political leaning was. Because I don't lean no way politically no more. I'm all about tribe and fuck the government. Right? That's all I'm about. I don't care about none of this dumb shit no more. I'm just going to be watching you niggas from the mountaintop, eating popcorn and just laughing. Make sure I don't get caught with those strays and no shit like that. It's funny how the people who are responsible for disinformation are out to try to hunt down who's responsible for disinformation. It's like red herring. It's like all of this other stuff, man. And it gets exhausting to keep up with this shit because we all know it's bullshit. The people that created the technology are saying the technology isn't a threat, which I agree with, which is why I'm confused at how they cannot hold this same stance with firearms all over the world, not just here in so-called North America. But once again, we all know it's a mind game, as always. And aren't y'all tired of it yet? I know I am. So in closing, all I'm really going to say is, to the so-called conservative people or the Republic-minded people, just get ready. Get your headache medication, whatever you need to deal with the bullshit we got coming. Just get it ready, have it on hand, because we know how this is going to go. To be quite frank with y'all, I don't think there's going to be an election. I think at this point they're going to just flat out be like, fuck it, we're taking over, coup d'etat, hostile takeover style. Because like, y'all really going to put in all this effort to cheat and then have to drag and string people along for weeks and days and gaslight us that what didn't happen. Y'all comfortable to go with this method because you know most of these idiots ain't going to rise up against you. I'm taking RedWolf stance. I'm not here to try to stop you motherfuckers no more. I'm just here to wake up the people with some sense and we gonna get the fuck out of here, bro. Because let these fools torch themselves because they think they gonna get away with the shit that they've done. And I'm like, y'all don't know what happens to traitors. Shout out to RedWolf. He was talking about that earlier. They don't seem to know what happens to traitors. Same thing that happens when you commit treason on this land. And that's what's in store for you, New World Order puppets. You don't have to believe me. Just wait until shit pops off. Next thing you know, you're being told to face the wall. So, I say fuck the system. Break away. And with that, I'm going to catch y'all later. I'd like to thank y'all for coming by and hearing what I had to say. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. All my links are down in the description. Even leave a comment if you disagree or if you have something you want to add on. Appreciate you guys coming by.
You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy. So say good night to the bad guy. Go on.
I am a human being. I exist.
Delusions, Mr. Wordsworth. Delusions. Send the word.